Welcome back, everyone. Today's Friday. We're going to play some more Legacy, but first, let me talk about something I'm very, very proud of. The Eco Cup is something that I have near and dear to my heart. This is the 4th iteration. I have invited Kai Sawatarix of Doomsday and Paint fame. I've invited Bosch and Roll, Mr. Eternal himself, and the only guy in the world who would have this frowny face over winning a time walk. And of course, Japanese Sensei Inf. And they'll be battling against 29 members over on my Metafy, battling for 60 treasure chests, but actually 20 more was added to the prize pool thanks to a very kind donation. And then this awesome foil, artist proof, Thassa's Oracle, gold signed, special inscription, unique collectible that I'm happy to offer to first place. Let's check out a few more details. So with your Brainstorm Baron membership, it's going to be a free entry. That's $10 per month. For that, of course, includes everything like all my guides, the community, the tournaments, the giveaways, all of that jazz. There's going to be priority for new members. That means if you sign up and you go to my Discord, you will be have your reserved spot for the tournament. It's going to be a 32-player tournament, so this will cap very fast. I will announce the exact time for the signups, and a bunch of thumbs up will happen once we reach 32. There's no more spots in the tournament, so there's that. It's going to be double elimination bracket, which is a bit unconventional, but the cleanest way to play Magic, no tiebreakers, etc. It's going to be flexible scheduling between players. That means you just have to, communicate with your opponent and get the match scheduled within the proper time frame. I usually say, let's make sure we do 2 matches per week. It's going to be open deckless tournaments, which obviously changes a little bit when it comes to the strategy. Prices for top 4, and signups will start July 15th. But as I said, new members with priority. All right, with that out of the way, let's get into today's deck. I'm going to be playing some deck to beat blue-black Reanimator. I've been playing more or less the 75 for a while. I like it a lot, but I have changed a little bit up today to basically try to play around with 75 a tiny bit. I've trimmed a little bit on Bowmaster. I put the Brazens back in the main. I do have a couple of Cling to Dust in the flex slots. I think that card is worth talking about. This is kind of the incidental graveyard hate that is not embarrassing in other matchups. Kind of like Nile Spellbomb out of Tempo. Kind of like your Soul Guide Lanterns out of your Saga decks. Endurance decks out of Green Creature decks. Stuff like that, right? So this will be sometimes, even I think the life gain could come in handy here with us being a Reanimate deck. But mainly this card will be against opposing Reanimate strategies, but even, shrink a Nethergoyf, get rid of an Uro, disrupt some Welders. This card has some utility, and it just cycles, I have had some cool situations where this card has allowed me to lethal a Murktide because of the escape ability, which is pretty awesome. Combine it with the Ponder, we flip our Tamiyo turn 2. Can do a lot of small stuff, basically. I have 4 of all the good 1-drops here. I feel like that is the way to build a deck. Some people play 3 Tamiyos, 3 Thoughtseize, but I actually think you need 4 of all of these. I have only room for a couple of Wastelands in the main deck right now. I have a 3rd one on the side to supplement. Plan B, I guess, is a couple of Murktides, a couple of Brazens, the baddies of choice here. Sideboard, I want to address Mystic Forge, but these consigns are also awesome because they help protect our graveyard against Endurance, Bajuka Bog, stuff like that. More anti-combo cards to make sure we get to play the game. Barrowwolf, Plan B, Juke for when the opponent is prepared for the yard. Voidwalker doubles as exactly that, while also being disruptive onto the opponent's graveyard. These could easily be Fairy Macabres. And then I have 4 removal spells. I've been going back and forth between Bitter Triumph, 3-1 split, 4 fatal pushes. So let's say we play against Issa Delver or some other, Corey Steelcutter red Daze deck. I'm going to be missing the pushes, but then if we have a longer game or we need to kill like a Murktide or a flipped Tamiyo, this card is going to be awesome. The remaining 2 Bowmasters are in the sideboard for any Ponder matchup or small creature matchup we may encounter. And then, as I already talked about, the Wasteland supplementing mainly against Ursa Saga strategies, to be honest. But yeah, I think this should be very cool. Let's get into some games. All right, round 1. I'm playing Dimir Reanimator, and as always, if you like this deck, you can go and find the guide over on my Metafy as well. I have a lot of updated guides for Tier 1 decks in Legacy and Vintage. So we have a few options with this hand. So first of all, we can kind of slow roll, let our opponent, not know about the Entomb. Or we can upkeep it to play around Daze. Daze is a card that we can play around if we do exactly that. There's also, the Ponder that can go look for something like a Thoughtseize. And I guess there's some small chance that holding up this Cling to Dust is going to be relevant turn 1. This is quite close in the dark. I think I'll go for the upkeep Entomb. So let's play that. Pass. So obviously, what is this bad against? This is bad against a deck with Reanimate in it. But yeah, let's see. There's also a case to be made that if my opponent goes turn 1 Blood Moon, I would have loved to fetch an island and play the game a little bit. Here's Tamiyo. And now comes the question, should I, first of all, think about Daze out of a Tundra deck? Second of all, look for a disruption with this Ponder. This was not a blue card, so I can only hit Daze that helps me here. Maybe that is an argument to... Let's see, do we have any smart thing to do here? We did not get forced. Ooh, I played the land. I mistook this version for a Wastelandless deck. So, yeah. Okay, that was not ideal, because I actually wanted to hit Wasteland here once establishing that I don't really, worry about the Daze out of my opponent's deck. But, alright. I missed the Force of Will here as well, so I'll probably go Thoughtseize, Force of Will, Bowmasters. How do we feel about our life total here if this gets plowed? We have tons of life to work with, so I think I like these. Question is, do we want Brazen Borrower as a blue card? I think that's slightly better. There's also a Tamiyo, but I think this Borrower is a better one as a force pitch. Alright, we're up against Jeskai Control here. These cards don't do anything, but the Brainstorm could do something. So let's take that, leave them with a Flage. Oh, I missed the Caracas. That's kind of cool. Okay, so I missed the Caracas. Okay, I have to get into the swing of things here. Caracas sends that back to my hand. I'm firmly ahead on cards. Opponent has one unknown. And now it's kind of up to me to produce an Archon, I believe. Which I could have gone for, of course, with the Entomb Reanimate. On the Atraxa, but completing my Force of Will there is going to be better. Alright. A Thoughtseize. Not terrible, but I think I need to kind of get going here. Try and find my own Tamiyo. I guess they have Caracas, so it doesn't help. Wasteland is interesting. Okay, so this lets me reanimate Atraxa next turn. I think I like that, especially, so let's see. I think I can still play a land. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I have 9 cards here, so I can play out 1 card. Would probably be a land, so I go and get Surveil. Does that sound right? I think so. Okay, kind of complicated game to start the day here. I should have gotten out of bed slightly earlier. So let's see. Attack. Now I have to worry about not dying to Flage as well. If I'm lucky, my opponent puts Flage into the graveyard now. Okay, they put Flage into the graveyard, so now I can cling it to gain my life back. So let's see. I'm down to 8. So I go to 11, 10, Surveil. That's exactly what I was looking for. Wasteland for the Caracas. So let's reanimate the Atraxa, go to 3. That also means I can't Thoughtseize. Atraxa, go to 3. Love the Murktide. Maybe I love the Dace. Maybe Brainstorm's just better. Let's see. Ponder is awesome. Land that I'm probably going to discard to hand size. Brainstorm. Those 4 they seem like great cards, so let's get rid of that card. Let's slam Murktide Regent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now discard, I guess, Polluted Delta to hand size. That's probably alrighty. Or is it Surveil Land? Let's try and think. I feel like I'm just winning if I'm connecting with Atraxa, so maybe I should assume I'm not. Alright. Opponent has Sanctuary, Ending, maybe one more Flooded Strand. I didn't quite keep track. Let's see. Flipping the Tamiyo is alrighty. I will fight over a Plow. So now what I could do is bounce my opponent's Tamiyo. Let's see here. I can't Thoughtseize before combat, because then I can't force if something bad happens. So I guess I start with Brazen onto that one. Then once I get the life from Atraxa, I can Thoughtseize my opponent. Let's attack my opponent for 7 and kill their Planeswalker. Double Plow is some way to lose this game. So now let's go Thoughtseize. Go to 7. I can snack the Tamiyo and... I didn't think about Supreme Verdict until after having played this Underground Sea. Maybe it's fine to play that card, but yeah. I think in a spot like this, it's important to see how can I actually lose this game, and I think Supreme Verdict is part of that. But I don't like playing out this card. I think I like playing a tap land there. Let's see. Okay. The opponent didn't find it, so it's important to realize if you played well or played poorly, despite whoever ends up winning the game. So against this deck, I like the Bowmasters. Maybe I like the Negations. I don't like the Dazes because I actually think they do a reasonable job of slowing me down. Brazen Borrower, kind of the same thing. Not many. I mean, I don't know their sideboard plan, obviously, so that changes a little bit. Looks like Bitter Triumph is decent. Maybe even a copy of Push. I can get behind Barrogoyfs and Wastelands as well, because it looks like the opponent focused a little bit more on non-basics than usual. So how does this work? Cut 8. I need to cut 1 more card. I mean, you can always cut Negation. I don't think that card is amazing. Do I want an enemy dead over a Negation? That is the question. Animate dead over a Negation. Or another removal spell. So let's see, how much removal am I at right now? I'm at a couple. Okay. I can see adding 1 more Fatal Push. Single Negation. Not entirely sure about that card. Jeskai something. Also, it could be like Flame of Anor deck, etc. We don't really know about that. This hand is kind of funny. I'm going to keep it. I'm most likely going to go to cleanup turn 1. Not ideal, but I think it's slightly better than a 6. So what kind of hate would that deck be running? Old school instinct is Containment Priest. There's a shuffle. Traxa hits the yard. Realistically, though, they'll be on a combination of Surgical, Cage, and Fairy. Let's see. I'm scared about the 2-mana pass here. Trying to think about what to do. Ponder's actually not bad. I might slow down here. If I slow down, I give myself a chance to ponder into Force Blue card, Thoughtseize, and that could be better. This is me playing around Containment Priest, by the way, because of past experiences. This Baragov is probably going to be awesome. So I like next turn I go Thoughtseize Reanimate, then the turn after I go Baragov, and then it's a question of whether I want this Ponder rather than a random card, and I think the answer is yes, and I even have the Underground Sea to make sure that I leave it on top. The opponent took the turn there. No Surveil, no end step creature. So the advantage of my play is I give myself some, you know, some time to play around a Force in hand or a Containment Priest in play, thanks to Thoughtseize and Push. But I also give my opponent more time to find permanent hate that I don't have an answer for, right? So there's a little bit of that going on. I think I have, because of just Force of Will, Force of Negation being the main cards I'm worried about, I have to start with this. So I don't mind that play because I'm actually trying to build an Atraxa right now. So if they hide like a good card on top, I think that's fine for me. So the dream is the opponent hides some good card and they underestimate my ability to combo now. And it looks like that was indeed the case. So now I can snag the Force of Will and build an Atraxa. I should probably think about what I want to do with that Ponder on top. I have a Ponder on top, so what is it more likely that I... Yeah, it is more likely that I hit the Force of Will I'm looking for. If I'm shuffling. I was just thinking whether that was the case, because I also have to find the blue card, but I think I'll do that the vast majority of time. So it's about that Force of Will. Okay, so we don't find the blue card, ironically. I am going to take the Force of Will, though, alongside the Wasteland. I'm going to get bounced, which is unfortunate. Bowmasters looks quite awesome against Teferi. And then, do I want Thoughtseize, or do I want Reanimate? Probably want Thoughtseize. So I have a nice little draw 4 here. And I'm passing, discarding my Surveil land. And then what? Maybe the Underground Sea is not that exciting. Okay. So very sad about not connecting the blue card here. What would have that have been? That would have been Tamiyo and Ponder. Okay. We also learned a little bit more about our opponent's brainstorm here. They are basically fixing bad draws rather than hiding good draws. So they're going to lead on to Fairy, and they're going to see the good news here with me not having the answer for it. Oh, did they even draw Plow? That would be pretty awesome. The opponent finds a Plow here, they can keep counters on the Teferi. That would be amazing. Oh, wow. Nice. Okay. Ooh. I didn't like that play from the opponent. I didn't like that play, because now it dies to Bowmaster that they knew about. So let's start with Thoughtseize here. I'm trying to think about what this Days Undoing is going to do. If I have a Bowmaster in play, this overrules that, I believe. Maybe I should just take the prismatic ending here. Let's take that. And then slam Bowmaster. Kill Teferi. And then funnily enough, my opponent can play the draw 7 that is kind of a must counter. Because they're down to Days Undoing, land. Yeah, I can't let this happen. I like my cards here slightly better than my opponent probably likes their cards. I think that's pretty fair to say. Okay, another Bowmaster is not bad. But I think it's time for Baragoyf. And then the question becomes, am I wastelanding my opponent? Let's see how this works. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I actually think Wasteland in response to fetch counters Mystic Sanctuary. Let's see if I know how to play the game. Pass. We'll see a fetch here, and in response, I will kill off Volcanic Island. Because now Mystic Sanctuary cannot recur the Days Undoing. And the opponent has to do exactly that. So I like this slightly more than facing a draw 7. No answer for Baragoyf here could be the death of my opponent. Let's see if that's true. I have to do a little math here whether I play that Bowmaster out. So 6, my opponent's down to 9, and step ping them to 8. Throw that one. It's very close. I'll just deal my opponent 6 here. It's very close, because I could have upped the clock in theory. Let's see if I can hit a creature here. I hit another Bowmaster. That's pretty decent. And now I'm very well insulated against both Supreme Verdict and my opponent drawing out of this with cantrips. This game was pretty interesting because I discarded Attracts at a hand size. So did nothing on the draw turn 1. Turn 2 I sculpted. Turn 3 Thoughtseized Reanimate. It was pretty cool showcase of how this deck frequently goes through a single Force of Will. And then from there it was all about, I think if the opponent pluses that Teferi, I think I'm in trouble. Because they knew about that Bowmaster that would just enter and kill it, right? And then I was lucky to finally connect on the blue card to say no to the Days Undoing, and I find the quote-unquote heads-up play here using Wasteland to disrupt Mystic Sanctuary, and game 1, Wasteland to disrupt Caracas. So all around, pretty solid showing. Good deck is good. Let's keep it up. All right, round 2. I was chuckling at my opponent's screen name. Let's see, what do we have here? We have a keep, and we hope to don't see a polarized card on top of this Surveil. We hope to have an easy decision like Third Land or Entomb or, you know, Force of Will. We want some solid stuff. We don't want a hard choice on top here. I'll keep the Third Land. Pass. I'm up against 6 cards. Who knows what's going on the side of my opponent. I've drawn both my Bowmasters and my opener, so I guess these are like the most polarized cards I have. The Dream is a 1 toughness creature. Well, the dream is alive. So let's try and kill that card. This is probably the sweet deck that Strifo top 8 of the Showcase Challenge with. So here you have 4 man's Deathrite. I think that's the way to put it. But I don't know, actually, after this Plains got played. There's a chance the opponent played around Wasteland, got cooked by quote-unquote removal. Let's see if that's true. Ooh, this could be a nice one. So let's start with Thoughtseize. I think that's very, very smart. Getting plowed in response. You got me, buddy. One more plow and a brainstorm. No window to cast the brainstorm, though. So if I go Take the plow, slam Bowmasters. That should be fine. So let's do this. Ping for 1, attack for 2. My opponent has a brainstorm and some fetches. And I have free rain. Days, not a bad draw. Well, maybe, actually. Maybe it is a bad draw. Who knows? Let's ponder here, trying to find the coveted Entomb. These are to be shuffled. Tameo is a nice one. I'll just play that out and pass. Oh no. What did I run into? Endurance? Okay, I run into Endurance. That's pretty cool. So when I said the Days wasn't really a good draw, it was actually an insane draw. Guess we take that. So now we can flip the Tameo, which I feel like I should do any day of the week. So I already drew 1 extra card, so this will indeed flip it. Oh, baby. Oh, baby, oh, baby. So let's see. Put back Tameo, put back Cling, flip, plus make a stub on my next upkeep. Oh, wow. That was brutal for the opponent. All right, is this the... Yeah, the opponent realizes the sense of urgency here. I think this is going to work out just fine for me. All right, pretty easy game here on the back of good old Orcish Bowmasters. So that deck will have a lot of creatures that we can point our removal spells at. I do like that, I must say. Days, let's keep that in the sideboard and make our opponents scared. Brazen's not ideal. Bling's not relevant. Got a lot of cards here. Add some removal. Our opponent really showed that they don't want to lose to Wasteland. So I don't necessarily want to bring that in. What I could do is a single Baragoyf. Or bring in 2 and hedge with... That's probably what I should do. Putting an Animate Dead. Transforming into blue-black midrange with Broken Package. Yeah, like this. Being on the play, killing the 1/1 on turn 2 with the Bowmaster against the blue deck is really strong. The opponent killed it with a plow with left backup body. So let's see. Kill a creature. I'm up a card. Eat a plow. Yeah, and then leave back the 1/1. Yeah, that's just insane for 2 mana. If you play against a lot of blue decks, Bowmasters is where you want to be. It just does a lot. All right, not quite the same punch here, basically because of play draw, but we can do this. Also, the opponent is maybe going to be a little bit careful about playing out that, like leaning on that 1/1, but I guess on the play it's pretty solid. I wish I studied the deck a tiny bit more. I'm not necessarily sure if I'm facing like Wasteland, what their hate is, etc. All right, let's play a delta and pass. So what is important to realize is this delta for the opponent represents Entomb. So a lot of the stuff that they are going to do and they're not going to do has kind of that in mind. You'll see opponents binning over spells they want or, you know, under normal circumstances would have wanted with surveilling, shuffling, desperate ponder, stuff like that. It puts a lot of stress on the game, which is part of why the deck is good. Etch Maze into Forest. Curator. Okay. So Curator is actively very annoying. I think the play here is to assume I'm not up against a Daze deck. Surveillant Response. If I have a removal spell on top of my deck, I don't care. Second Bowmaster. What's my next turn? My next turn is probably Reanimate Bowmaster Wasteland Hedge Maze, so that's why we put it into the graveyard. Okay. Force a Will Pitch Brainstorm resolves. Another Reanimate, which is not terrible. Let's try and reanimate our Bowmaster. Ping the opponent, and then try and keep them a little bit down here. Because this forest, I saw that as kind of a weakness play, but maybe not, because it was a curator. Never mind. That was not a weakness play. So I got to be pretty mana efficient here thanks to Reanimate being a discount. Let's see what this is. Okay. Guess what I do here is... Do I play a land? Because if weird things happen, I want to flash in the Bowmaster. Probably. But then if I play a land, I can't fetch off my Brainstorm. Is this a Bowmaster deck? That's the other question. I wish I'd done my homework a little bit better. Let's send these guys to the zone. Now I have to think about... Maybe I should just get that Curator. Okay. Let's try and reanimate the Key Knight Curator from the opponent's graveyard. Play land. Pass. So can I attack for full amount next turn? Land, instant sorcery? I can't. Okay. Oh, that was the white mana for the opponent. Am I brainstorming end of turn? Okay, so I guess that is dead. They're trying to unlock cantrips, and I have a second one, so that's pretty sweet. I don't think brainstorming here is that important. I actually think I have decent stuff to do. Exile. Okay. So now I could attack for the full amount, I believe, if I go fetch... No, I can't. Never mind. I wanted to fetch Surveil away the Bowmaster and get to 4 types, but I can't. I'm 1 mana short. Second Wasteland would be insane. So that's kind of a reason to do this now. I guess let's... Also have to ask myself, am I slamming Bowmasters to get in for 1 more damage off the Orc army, or am I waiting? I guess I might as well keep... Oh, wow, this is horrendous. Might as well keep up the possibility here, so get rid of those 2. Think I'm actually gonna let my opponent have the turn. Right now it looks like I'm gonna use my Curator to, like with this unused mana, it doesn't necessarily tell the opponent I have a Bowmaster. It could just be, oh, I'm looking to activate this a couple of times in a turn. So the dream is we catch a Brainstorm here. Okay, so I think what we need to do now is let this resolve, slam the Bowmaster. So we do like this. Orcish Bowmaster number 2, not what the opponent wants to see here. I can tell you that right away. Kill that, draw, ping the opponent, and now I have a big Curator, and the opponent has seen enough here. So pretty sweet plan B that started with milling over a Bowmaster, because I wanted a 1 mana Bowmaster off Reanimate and keep my opponent a little bit down with the Wasteland. And then just the second Reanimate turning into a 3/3, inevitably being a... If I untap here, I make it big, and then it's like 7, right? I'm trying to... Yes, then it's a 7, then I attack for 10, and I kind of just bury my opponent with, you know, kind of a scrappy plan B, but that certainly works. Let's play 1 more and see if we can do it to him. All right, round 3. Let's see if this deck can bleed. I keep winning the die roll, which is a big thing. Let's keep this. We have this kind of annoying Undercity Sewer start where we have to kind of get into the game, maybe make a tough choice on the Surveil before knowing about our opponent's deck. The good news is we're on the play, and we're actively looking for stuff like Reanimate, Land, Force of Will, So this decision isn't that hard. If we had a deck filled with, you know, fatal pushes, we would have a lot of a tougher time. This is interesting. I don't think I'm allowed to keep this card. I am telling my opponent what I'm playing, which is annoying. But I have to, you know, hedge for Wasteland, hedge for, you know, never drawing a Reanimate and stuff like that. Ooh, we're playing against some combo deck. So the opponent is also willing to show what they're on. That's interesting. Yeah, I could be in big trouble here. Let me put it that way. So now I have a tough choice to make. If I believe that nothing's bad's going to happen, my opponent's just a Lotus Petal deck. I could... Also, the opponent didn't play a cantrip turn 1. So that doesn't necessarily mean they don't have one. It could just be them holding up Pierce, Fluster, that type of deal. But it is incredibly weak to pass the turn with 2 mana here. But it's also very weak to play Sorcery Speed, Brainstorm, and get countered. So I'm actually gonna do the, I guess, the least weak of those 2 plays. Okay, the opponent takes the turn. I'm trying to get into a situation where my opponent just can't slam a show and tell, right? But I don't know if that's even a thing. Maybe because of the Fear of Days, etc. So I basically have to find a Thoughtseize or a Force of Will before that happens. Is this where I play a creature, or here where I start digging? Because I really have Spell Pierce, that type of card on the radar. But I also like digging 1 deeper. Okay, I think I'll unstep the the Bowmaster here, and then draw and probably cast a Brainstorm to look as deep as possible. Brainstorm is also better because it lets me find 2 cards I need, like land Thoughtseize, that kind of stuff. Okay, so the opponent had the perfect timing here. Also, me passing with 2 mana there was a transcribe play. But I feel like my alternative was so much worse with my opponent holding up Pierce. Okay, I get dazed out of the Lotus Petal deck. I guess you got me. Don't mind that too much. So I'm thinking some show and tell deck, I must say. That's kind of funny. Okay, let's cast this Brainstorm, trying to find land plus something. That is almost land plus something, so let's see. I think the Brazen Borrower is very bad. And what about second Reanimate? Is that also bad? Could be the Murktide or second Reanimate. Let's see. What's my play here? I think my play is put 2 cards back, shuffle a Ponder to magically hit Force of Will. Or I guess see a Force of Will as the 3rd card. Let's see if this Spell Pierce is a thing. Okay, so maybe not. I'll shuffle here. Okay. So we got there on the plan. Let's see if it's enough. Because I'm losing to the opponent doing stuff and having backup. They like all of their cards from Brainstorm, so I don't like my odds here. I must say I don't love my odds. So let's cast Entomb on the upkeep. Draw. And now the biggest problem is the Spell Pierce I predicted from turn 1, I'm getting cooked by. So not ideal. Okay, the opponent doesn't have that card. And they pitch Teferi. So this is a Doomsday deck. Wow, that's cool. So what are we pitching against the Doomsday deck that is kind of sitting there? I haven't made my land drop. This Murktide will kill them quite fast. Maybe this is where I pitch a Ponder. But I'll get Veiled here, right? There's no way. If the opponent can't combo, they can for sure stop me. Okay, wow. The opponent couldn't stop me. So now I can go Thoughtseize, land, Tamiyo, and I guess Daze is better than Entomb in this spot. So I draw a lot of cards. Thoughtseize is better than Tamiyo. We know there's no Veil. So now the opponent can choose between losing their best card. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I just had a I had a heart attack here. I didn't know where my force went, but I just won the counter war with the force, so that's where it went. Yeah, let's see here what the opponent has going on. I was alluding to there's a non 0% chance they concede here in response, but all right. So as of right now, the ring gets dazed. Doomsday does not get dazed. Doomsday down to 9. Straight Wraith. Am I losing that game where they try and go off? That's kind of the question I have. Are they beating Daze on that game? If they draw Mana Source, I think they're beating Daze. But I think that's also the case for... No, it's not the case for Ring, because that gets delayed. So what if I take... Let's see here. Fetch to 18. Cast Doomsday to 9. I don't have 2 more damage. I could maybe find 1 more damage. Maybe that's enough. Because I would dig pretty hard for a Reanimate. What happens if the opponent draws Dark Ritual? Then I feel like I'm losing both cards. So maybe I snag the Doomsday. I'm trying to figure out what happens if I take the Street Wraith and my opponent casts 1 ring, a Dazed. The opponent casts Doomsday, I let that resolve. We go to low life as we already discussed. And then they can kind of plow through the deck. Wow, this is so hard. This is probably where I'll get a lot of comments about whatever I'm missing. I have 1 more turn to find a Thoughtseize for this one. This is kind of now or never. But if the opponent doesn't kill me on the spot, I have lots of ways to win. Except if they go, like, cantrip. And end up with a caverned creature. Caverned, Okay, I'll take the Doomsday. I can't really fathom the consequences. Let's see if that is smart. So now I give my opponent more time to connect on the mana source they need for 1 ring. Tough call. Okay, is this a surveil? In order to find a ritual? That is a surveil in order to try and find a ritual. That's pretty sick. Doomsday gone. 18 life. The opponent keeps the card. I guess I'll wasteland here. I actually think I'm losing this game. Street Wraith. Underground Sea. Pass. Okay, so the opponent hedged and put a land on top. Probably. Probably. Another Murktide. That is not useful right now. So that card kills the opponent next turn. Sure. I think I should try and do better here with my brainstorm. So maybe I give myself one more chance to spike that card. So let's see, put back those two. Try and see what's going on here. And I hit a Thoughtseize, and I think that's better. So let's see. Thoughtseize, play land first to not get randomly dazed. I expect to see a land, a One Ring, and I don't know about the last card. But we can kind of tell it's not a Dark Ritual. Okay, so the opponent concedes here. Yeah, I'm not sure I played that Thoughtseize turn very well. So let's see. We're up against the 4-color Doomsday deck. I don't expect that deck to be creature centric, I must say. So I don't think the bounce spells are good. I don't think 2-mana Reanimation is impressive. I think these 4 are easy. And then we don't need the Clings, but we can add a Wasteland against their 4-color deck. I think this is going to be fine. Oh, for Consigns against One Ring and Thassa Trigger? Okay, we need those as well. So what do we not want here? You can argue this Wasteland should go back. Single copy a Daze, maybe? Maybe a single copy a Daze is okay to cut here. 4 Entombs. Yeah, I think that this looks fine. We have all the cheap disruption like Force Thoughtseize and a powerful plan A. Generally, I like to play against those type of decks. Okay. So I have a Force of Negation, and I have a, you know, some mana that functions, so I guess I'm keeping this hand. There's oftentimes this dynamic of, if the opponent has, like, Cage, Force of Will type of deal, then you want to have a Bowmaster draw. It's always, the opponent can have, quote-unquote, too much, and then you can kind of capitalize. Yes, I should hold up Consign. Let's hold up Consign here. There's some, you know, Ritual, One Ring, Veil type of draws that we cover by having double disruption here. Also, there's a little bit of, the opponent doesn't know about the Wasteland, which is good. They put a card on top of the deck. I think it's decent to pick my spot when I have the Bowmasters in my deck. Let's see what this is. Knight's Whisper. Love to see that card. My favorite Magic card. A good old draw 2 here. I think it's acceptable. Trying to think about what white gives the opponent. White gives them to Fairy, so I think it's more valuable to get them off Sewers. Get a Surveil end of turn. Find a Thoughtseize. Okay, that's pretty strong. So I'll keep that. That means I tap down from Consign, though. So let's Thoughtseize first. Because there exists a hand where white is more important than black, and we have to take advantage of that. Well, this is the hand I'm talking about. Okay, so lots of annoying cards here. Lots of beatable cards here, which is kind of the good news. Double to Fairy. Maybe our way to beat that is to wasteland our opponent out of white. Veil is very annoying. And will be annoying later. Plow is also stranded. So maybe this is a spot to take the Veil and get rid of white. Let's see if this works out for me. Veil is gone, and they're now playing Sultai with a bunch of white cards in hand. They do have a lot of... Okay, so they instantly get the white source. So now they play around Bowmasters. Smart. Okay, so we actually get to have a serious game here. Also note that Brainstorm, put Archon on top, Surveil it away is a play I have available. Okay, so the opponent will start jamming Teferi next turn. Maybe a good draw, who knows? Let's cast Brainstorm. So what if I go put that, mill that over, or am I milling next turn maybe? Am I willing to double force here to keep a Teferi, like to keep 2 Teferis off the table, basically? So let's see. Force the first one, Thoughtseize the second one is probably what's going to happen here. So I go like this, surveil that one into the yard. Archon's in the graveyard, which doesn't mean much for now. Also, the opponent has it covered with Plow eventually. So let's see how it actually plays out. Going with the fetch there, getting the Tundra, start playing the fairies probably. Or Scrubland, I guess. I guess they only play a 1/1 white mana split here. Okay, so not exposing the Trop. Maybe shuffle back the Trop and they go get a new one here. Okay, we can maybe assume that. So I think this is where I have to Force of Will, pitch, Consign probably. Force of Will, pitch, Consign. And now I can choose between holding up Negation or Thought Seizing, and I think I have to hold up Negation. I think it's better to force my opponent to spend mana on a card I more or less know is there. But then again, maybe the opponent hedged with Brainstorm. But I'm assuming that they're going to jam Teferi. I can use my mana, and then I can go Thoughtseize Murktide. So let's see if I'm right about that. It doesn't look like I'm right about that. So, They also know I don't have Daze, because I would have dazed Teferi last turn. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Land hits the battlefield. Really hoping this is Teferi so we can kind of get that out of the way. Let's see if I succeed here. So those are gone. Brainstorm's gone. I know about Plow. Okay, so I got to a pretty cool spot here. I even draw Brainstorm. So now, do I want to Brainstorm first or Thoughtseize first? I feel like I want to Thoughtseize first. Let's see what they have going on here. I was about to say, hopefully I hit like 2 cards here. So that's pretty cool for me. Yeah, those cards are gone. I get to see the hand. Let's see what they're working with. Plow. Okay, double Plow. That's annoying. The ritual looks quite bad, so I guess I take a Plow here. Let's Brainstorm. See if I can find something great. Entomb, Ponder. So maybe I just play like this. And then I guess I cast the Entomb before my turn. Yeah, I think this is decent. The opponent has Ritual Plow, so they're really boarding into like this kind of controlling situation. Brainstorm was a great draw. I wonder why my opponent didn't tap the Trop. Mainly because that would allow them to spike a Doomsday here. Oh, I guess they have Ritual. Never mind. Okay, this is a good play by the opponent. Because the Ritual is kind of whatever. Ritual gone. And now, is this a Doomsday or a Ring? Oh, Sheldred. That is sick. Okay, love that. So the opponent has a Plow left. And I'm trying to get an Atraxa going. Sweet game. I go to 12 here. Drop Bowmaster. Kind of bad. So now, what do I do? If I do that, go to 3, I get plowed. Yeah, I should probably look for Reanimate here. I don't find Reanimate, so I have to send these cards back, I believe. That's quite bad. So what I could do now is Thoughtseize the Plow. If I Thoughtseize the Plow, I get hit for too much damage, I believe. I think I have to pass. Ooh, the opponent boarded into a sweet deck here. Sheldred, infinite colors of annoying interaction. Let's Bowmaster here to preserve a little bit of life total. I'll go to 8 on my turn. Atraxa would get me down to 1. I don't think I have an out here. I think I'm losing. Let's see. I go to 6. 6. Okay, let's try this. Thoughtseize. Get plowed, see a brick, maybe? Almost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Murktide. Play land. Pass. So, what if I draw another Murktide? Is that lethal? 1, 2. I don't think it is. I'll go to 5. Draw D's. And attack, because then Sheldred is lethal. I think next draw is the last one for me to draw, Merc. I guess Bowmasters does the trick as well. It's kind of an interesting situation. That's funny. 3. Next turn I'm at 1. I don't have life gain in my deck. Yeah, that does it to me. Okay. The opponent's on a little bit of a Sheldred plan. I don't think I'm allowed to worry about that aside from possibly putting back in a Daze. The opponent has Fairy for my plan. I can get Tamiyo going. What's my worst card in the deck right now? Consign? Is that the worst card in my deck? Are these better? I'll try those. Consign is awesome against mainly the One Ring, and I guess it can make life a little bit hard for the Doomsday player post combo. Ooh. Is this good? Turn 1 Tamiyo, solid. Then I Thoughtseize my opponent, but I don't really get anywhere. That's the problem, and I have a lot of cards that are bad here. Okay, I think this is an unfortunate mulligan. Okay. I like these. So maybe this is where I bin Surveil. I go turn 1 Tamiyo. Hope they don't like do something fast. Or is it better to go turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn and hopefully draw a blue card? Maybe it's better to turn 1 Thoughtseize. The opponent's also on a multi-6. Thoughtseize. That's funny. So I guess I take the Carpet, which will then make Wasteland insane later on. The opponent has a Force of Will. I have to remember that. So in theory, they can complete like Ritual blue card somewhat easily later. I draw Force of Will, which is not bad. Let's play a land. Let's play a Tamiyo. Am I forcing the plow? That's basically the question. Okay. I feel like the way to play this is surveil. Well knowing the opponent can act here. Okay, the opponent will act. This is a good play of the opponent because they force me to make a decision before knowing what I'm drawing into, basically. So that one is gone. They have one unknown in hand. I will force a negate this plow and see where that takes me. This could be my way into the game. So that card is not good. Like cracking these clues. Wasteland is a very strong draw. I don't think the opponent had I don't think the opponent has one more plow. I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna pass, and then on my opponent's maybe not. Let's see. Yeah, and then maybe on my opponent's draw step I wasteland. I think that's how I play. Wasteland. I get punished by the top card being exactly plow, but I'm good against the opponent surveilling to impact their draw step. I guess the scare is Dark Ritual. Ponder is very beatable. You go for a basic. It's a very weak play. If I spike a daze with my clue token, am I dazing that card? Great question. I don't think I am. I am going to crack this clue end of turn, though. Trying to be a little bit mana efficient. The opponent saves those cards. 3 cards we know about, 1 unknown. I crack into a daze, which is funny. Brainstorm. Okay. So I'll flip my Tamiyo here. Brainstorm. Did this just turn into a fair game? If I put back Entomb and Ponder. I slam a Bowmaster. I can recur a force. Okay. Let's try this plan. I will play the Bowmaster before my opponent gets a draw. No idea if this daze is ever going to help me. But at least, you know, it's a blue card to pair with negation. This is a lot of damage onto the opponent. But it's also a very juicy daze target when it comes to the opponent's development, because the next card they have is probably quite bad. So, wait a minute here. If the opponent goes to 13 from this one, 11 from the pings, I start attacking for 5. That's very strong. The main thing is, I think my opponent is just such a long way from presenting a win that's better for me to stomp this development. But let's see if I'm right about that. Pretty hard scenario. I drew another negation. That's pretty sick. So maybe if I recur a Thoughtseize? No, I don't think that's good. Yeah, if I recur a Thoughtseize, crack a clue, maybe that's a good turn. So bring back Thoughtseize, cast that card. Okay, so the opponent has redundant stuff going on. I feel like I have to take this Sheldred. Yeah, let's do that. Attack for 2, hold up clue. Hopefully this one is a bad card from the opponent. Yeah, that was my... When they kept the ponder, that was kind of my inclination, so that was worked out pretty nicely. Crack a clue, find a clock, and complete the blue card. So I think that's going to be my plan. One, two, three, four. So let's see if I have to do some shenanigans here to have lethal next turn. I can get, if I get my opponent to 1 Doomsdays out of the picture, so that's kind of the goal here. So what happens if I ponder 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah, so the gamble is I need to find a blue card on ponder. I think that's reasonable in order to have lethal. So, like this, boom, Flame Murktide 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that I have 10 damage next turn. Okay, I get forced. That's totally fair. My next draw is Reanimate, and I reanimate the Sheldred. Okay, so it looks like we got this opponent. That was a sweet match. Lots of tough decisions. The opponent did a very good job, especially game 2. That was like a clinic in how to... I had lots of good tools available, but it wasn't enough against this opponent, let me put it that way. Very well played by the opponent. So let's see if this is a nice farewell message. Sometimes you get some nice messages on Magic Online. Sometimes you get to make some new friends. So let's see. What's my plan? If my opponent does nothing, I'll attack for 2, reanimate a Sheldred. Yeah, that's the thing. The opponent is trying to do that. So Dog Ritual resolves. Let's see. If Doomsday puts my opponent... I think if I counter this, there's absolutely nothing they can do. So let's just counter this. I didn't really do the math. They're now left with the Doomsday, backing them to 8. And I totally agree. That was a great match. So pretty sweet run here from the big bad Reanimator deck. Showed some resiliency. I got to show off some good plays, some less good plays, and all of that stuff that you guys like to see. So hopefully you guys had a fun time. I'm always excited to play Legacy here on the channel and showcasing good decks. If you want to beat people with Reanimator like I just did, head over to my MetaFi, check out the guide. $10 per month to get all the sweet perks, free tournaments, giveaways, my growing community, not to say that's like the biggest thing really. 140 strong, having fun on Discord, trying to improve, have fun with the game, be creative, and all of that jazz. So if that sounds like something for you, I hope to see you over there. And if not, not a problem at all. You can keep coming back to these videos anytime you want. With that being said, thanks so much for watching again, and I'll see you next time.